The date was 23 October 2019. The location was a small town in Britain, Grays, Essex. The time was 1:30 a.m. Watch this CCTV footage carefully. In it you will see a truck driver getting out of his seat and moving towards the door of his trailer. This driver's name is Maurice Robinson. He knows very well what is at the back of his truck. But as soon as he opens the container door, toxic chemicals escape from that door, which you can also see clearly in this CCTV footage. As soon as that smoke emerges, he sees that his entire container is filled with bodies. Just seconds after opening the door, Robinson closes the door and steps back from there. The time is 1:30 a.m. A call comes in on the emergency number. Hello? Hello? I'm a truck driver. In which this driver named Robinson fearfully and anxiously tells the police that many people are lying unconscious in his truck's trailer and they are not breathing. I don't understand, they are not breathing. When he's asked how many, he says there are 25 or more. How many? 25? 25 patients? They are not breathing? Within minutes, along with the police, ambulances also arrived there. But when the door of that trailer was opened, the police saw 39 bodies lying on the floor of that container in a very gruesome state, and a very foul, unbearable smell was emanating from that container. The mouths of those bodies were open, meaning far wider than normal, and their eyes were also bulging out, as if they were screaming when they died. The smell of their urine and excrement was so horrific that some police officers were even afraid to go inside that container. Okay, all of this is correct. But who were those women, children, and men lying so horribly on the floor of that container? Until then, no one had any news about this. But later, when the investigation was conducted, it was revealed that these people were none other than irregular migrants being transported illegally, who had left their countries to start a new and better life. Not only that, they were not from various different countries, but were citizens of just one single country, Vietnam. 39 men, women, and children died due to a lack of oxygen in the North Sea ferry. No human being in the world deserves such a death. This was an organized and serious crime that took 39 lives. The police were continuously conducting their investigation, and those involved in it were being arrested. Those Vietnamese irregular migrants were locked inside a container that was completely sealed without any fresh air. Now, what I am about to tell you next will make your hair stand on end. The court was told about a smuggling network that helped irregular migrants enter Britain illegally, and in this process they would take money from the irregular migrants for the illegal transfer. During the investigation, it was discovered that some similar ferries, some similar journeys had already taken place a few days before this incident. That is, in those journeys where people were being smuggled, the irregular migrants had transferred safely. But then, in this case, what happened that these 40 people had to lose their lives? And whose fault was it behind this tragedy? Who is to blame? After this begins the biggest investigation into the illegal transfer of humans, one that will make you hold your breath and feel suffocated. October 22, 2019. Just a few hours before the journey of these 39 Vietnamese irregular migrants began, some of these irregular migrants were in France, while some were in Belgium. And to reach Europe as well, these irregular migrants had endured many hardships. But an even more heart-wrenching long journey still remained, because their destination was not Europe. They all wanted to go to Britain. You see, they had left their homes with the hope that by reaching England, they would be able to improve their financial situation and also pay off the bank loans they had taken to leave. You see, the basic aim of these irregular migrants is usually this: to come to Britain, work hard, send money back to their families in Vietnam, and then, after working there for 10-15 years, return to their homes in Vietnam. And all of this happens with the family's consent, and it is planned well in advance. They connect with travel agencies, etc., and then the journey begins. Among these irregular migrants was a 26-year-old girl named Pham Thi Tra Mai. She was hoping to work in the beauty industry upon reaching England. She had made a complete plan. She would send money to her family and pay off the loan taken by mortgaging their house. Finally, that day arrived. On October 3, 2019, she started her journey from her small village carrying big dreams. First, she reached the city of Hanoi in Vietnam by bus, after which she was taken by a vehicle to China. From there, she was taken by plane to France using a fake Chinese passport, simply put, a forged passport. The smugglers had made complete arrangements for their arrival in France, and it was right from here, from this place, that a very painful journey began.
22 October 2019, 9:20 a.m. 3 taxis arrive at a place called Smithy Heights, which is in a small town in France. After that, a truck driver comes and stops at the same location. The truck driver's name was Eamon Harrison, and he gets out of the truck for 10 minutes. During those 10 minutes, those 39 irregular migrants began climbing into the container one by one. This truck belonged to a transport company that legally transported fresh produce or frozen goods to England. So, they would transport food items legally in it, but illegally, the company owners were transporting irregular migrants to Britain for thousands, millions of pounds. A man named Ronan Hughes was the owner of this transport company and also the leader of all these illegal business activities. And on that morning, it was the company owner, Ronan Hughes himself, who was giving instructions to the truck driver, Harrison, about where to go, where to stop, get out for 10 minutes, do this, do that, and Harrison was following his instructions. After loading the irregular migrants into the truck, Harrison took the truck across the border from France to Belgium, to the port of Zeebrugge, from where a ferry was to depart for England. At that time, the temperature inside the container was 21 degrees Celsius, and this temperature was continuously rising. We are able to know the temperature because that trailer was a refrigerated trailer,
in which a temperature recording device was installed, but the refrigeration was not turned on. The time had reached 1 p.m. Harrison arrives safely with the truck at the port of Zeebrugge. But then, something unknown crosses Harrison's mind, and he takes the truck south to a petrol station. From the shop there, he buys a can of cold drink, which you can also see in this CCTV footage. Meanwhile, in the background, the temperature inside the container was continuously rising. The temperature inside this container had now reached 25.2 degrees Celsius. At 1:40 p.m., after finishing his cold drink, Harrison heads back to the same port, where he parks his trailer on the ferry, finishes his work, and leaves. You see, just as his boss had instructed him, Harrison acted exactly in that manner. His job ended here. Now the next part of the job was for the next driver to do. Now it was the next driver's turn. The next driver of this truck, Maurice Robinson, was waiting for instructions along with his team. At 3:30 p.m., the temperature inside the trailer had now reached 27 degrees. That ferry departed from its port, heading for England. The ferry was 36 minutes behind its scheduled time. The condition of those irregular migrants trapped inside the container was going from worse to worse. The breathable air was limited, and carbon dioxide was continuously increasing inside that container. And there was no way out of that darkness. At 6:20 p.m., the temperature inside the trailer had reached 35 degrees Celsius. In the next few hours, those irregular migrants had taken out their phones and started dialing numbers, crying out for help. But there was no signal inside the trailer. Now everyone began to suffocate. They started gasping for fresh air.
Some people had even started scratching the trailer, breaking their nails in the process. The atmosphere was filled with screams and cries everywhere, but those sounds remained confined to the trailer. If only they could get a little bit of fresh air inside that suffocating trailer, it had become a dream for them. Amidst the screams and cries, one victim dialed 113, which is Vietnam's emergency number. But why would that number work in Europe? Despite thousands of attempts, it was found that he tried to make calls at 7:10, 7:20, 7:30, and then at 4, but all his attempts were thwarted by that suffocating trailer. At that time, Maurice, the next driver waiting in England, was awaiting his trailer. He was waiting for instructions from his boss. The company owner, Ronan Hughes, sent this driver named Maurice Robinson to carry out this task and shared all the information via text message. Robinson was supposed to pick up this container from the port of Essex in England and drop off those irregular migrants at a specified location, for which he was to receive approximately £60,000. Now, let's return to the ferry. That ship had still not arrived at the port of Essex in England, and those people were still trapped inside that trailer, begging for their lives. At 7:30 p.m., the temperature inside the trailer had reached 36 degrees Celsius. No hope was visible to those irregular migrants now, because they couldn't breathe. They were suffocating. Now everyone took out their mobile phones and started recording messages for their families. When the phone of an irregular migrant named Nguyen Tua Tua was checked, the message he sent to his mother was something like this: "Forgive me, mother. I could not take care of you. I am so sorry, so sorry. I cannot breathe. I cannot breathe." Nguyen Huey Hung sent a message to his family: "I can't breathe. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I beg for forgiveness. I have to leave this world now. I am very sorry. Mom, goodbye. I am suffocating. We cannot breathe. We are trapped." These kinds of suffocating messages were sent by these irregular migrants to their families. The temperature was still continuously rising. The temperature reached 38 degrees. From 10 to 10:30, the carbon dioxide level reached a toxic level, and by now probably no one remained alive. The ship had only covered a little more than half its journey. By 11:20 p.m., all the people inside that container had died. No one survived. Right in the middle of the journey, that suffocating trailer had killed them. Now a pile of bodies was heading towards England. The ship arrives at the port in England just after 12 a.m. At 12:10 a.m. on 23 October 2019, all those irregular migrants were already dead. Meanwhile, Maurice Robinson, who was supposed to be the next driver for this container, had already arrived at the port and was waiting for his trailer. But little did he know that the ones he had come for had already become a graveyard of bodies. And according to the statistics of the investigators, another ringleader of all of them, Georgane Nica from Romania, was also seen in the same area, whom you can also see in this CCTV footage. His job was to take the irregular migrants out of the container and transport them to different places. As the trailer was being unloaded from the ship, the cargo operator noticed a smell of something rotting coming from this container, but he did not report it. He simply ignored it. Maurice Robinson attaches the trailer to his truck and leaves the boat. The time had reached 1 a.m. He had received instructions to take this truck to the Collingwood farm area where Georg Nica and his taxi drivers were waiting. Then a moving graveyard begins its journey on the roads of Britain. But then a change occurs in the plan, and Robinson is told to head towards the town of Grays in Essex.
But by then, Robinson would have needed air, but they didn't know it was too late because the dead don't breathe. At 1:10 a.m., Robinson gets out of the truck and goes to the back. He opens one door of the container. As soon as he does so, hot steam, that smoke, starts escaping from the trailer. And he stands there for approximately 90 seconds with the vapors continuously releasing into the air, which you can see clearly in this CCTV footage as well. In a panic, Robinson closes the trailer again, gets into the truck and drives it away from there. After seeing those dead bodies, first Robinson calls Ronan Hughes. After driving the truck continuously, roaming around here and there, he brings the truck back to the same spot and parks it there. And then he calls the emergency number 999 from his phone and says in his distressed voice that he had picked up the trailer from the port, and then on the way he heard some noise from the back, and when he opened the door to check, there were many irregular migrants inside who were no longer breathing. Hello? No, I am a truck driver and I've picked up a trailer from the port. There are irregular migrants inside. They are not alive. They are in a heap. The mouth is shut. It's inside. Do you understand? 25 patients not breathing. When the police arrived there, for a moment, even the police were frightened. They saw that one door of the trailer was open, and upon moving a little closer, they saw dozens of dead bodies lying on the floor of that trailer. Their clothes were removed, their mouths were open, and their eyes were bulging out, as if they were trying to breathe, trying to get air. No one had any life left in them. All the people were lying, clinging to each other, and foam was still coming out of many of their mouths. Steam was still continuously escaping from the trailer, and there was a smell like chemicals. The paramedic staff checked each body but found no signs of life. When the police counted, they found there were 39 people in total, including 31 men and 8 women, and among them were also some children. This news now spread across the world like fire. We start with breaking news. 39 people, including a young person, have been found dead inside a truck container at an industrial park in Essex. 39 people, a new, a different, a network. And now it had also become a very big political issue. Those who trade in illegal human transfer must be hunted down and brought to justice. A man named Christopher Kennedy, who was also a truck driver,
who used to do similar work of illegal human transfer. When he was asked if he wanted to say anything about the death of the 39 people, he stated that surely too many people must have been put into that container and the air must have run out. Kennedy, who was not driving a truck on the night of the incident, flatly denied being part of this illegal transfer. In court, it was revealed that a week earlier, Kennedy's truck had been stopped by the border force and approximately 20 Vietnamese irregular migrants were found inside, who were then released. But the Essex Lorry Deaths case was just one case where the driver himself had called and told the police what had happened. But there would be countless cases where these criminals dump those dead bodies somewhere in a forest and then finding them becomes impossible. Because the country doesn't even know that some displaced person dead in some derelict trailer in their country could be lying in a drain or sewer or being mauled by wild animals in some forest. And those arranging the illegal transfer know full well how much risk is involved. But still, they take this path. They give these dangerous criminals 30-40 lakh, 3 to 4 million rupees.
Sometimes walking, sometimes by plane, sometimes through forests, sometimes through deserts, and sometimes by ship or sea. The risk to life is always present. And the criminals do this work openly because there is no one to catch them. They know that their chances of getting caught are very low. 99.9% of criminals involved in illegal human transfer are never caught. There is no one to stop these traffickers because this is a $150 billion industry in which everyone from the army to the police is complicit, and there is virtually no chance of being caught. So why wouldn't these criminals do this work? Why wouldn't they commit this crime? And in the Essex case, the criminals became overly greedy. In a container that should have held only 20 people, they put in nearly double that amount. Because of this, the container suffocated them, and they died. This greed killed 39 people and destroyed their families. 39 parents whose eyes were sending their children off in search of a new life. Now those eyes are filled with tears. The parents who dreamed of seeing their children's dreams turn into reality can now only see their loved ones in their dreams. We cannot even imagine their pain, and no person in the world deserves to die in such a way. 39 innocent people who were in search of a new life trusted a network of deceitful devils, but its outcome turned out to be horrific. The way they transported these people, even animals are not transported like that. No matter how much they tried to escape from that sealed container, in the end, due to a lack of air, they suffocated. And who would have listened to their voices anyway? The dead are not in the habit of speaking. If you liked today's video, then like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We'll meet in another video.